My employee didn't realize I was the owner, so I married her. About 7 years ago, when I was about 19 years old, me and 3 of my friends opened up a cell phone store. We basically repair phones, sell third-party contracts, and sell accessories like screen protectors and cases. As the business grew, we wanted to expand, so about 4 years ago, we opened up a second store on the other side of town. It was one company, but with 2 locations. I was the one pushing the opening of the new location, so it was basically my project, so I was at the new location more often than not. After 6 to 8 months of running, the new location business finally stabilized and was standing on its own 2 feet, so I wasn't at the new location 24/7. At one point, one of my partners who ran the older store went on vacation, so we agreed I would work at the older location a few days a week. While he was gone, the other partner, who wasn't on vacation, would open up the store in the morning, stay there for a few hours with the employees, and I would arrive later in the day after opening up the other one. When I arrived, one of my partners was on the phone in the back, talking to one of our wholesalers, so I left him to it and just decided to look around the store, as I haven't been there much over the last few years, and the time I did spend there was mostly 10-second visits for deliveries and such. Here's where the story begins to get good. As I am looking around, this girl started to watch me. If I walk from one end of the store to the other end, she kind of follows me, pretending she's doing inventory or something. All I thought to myself was, okay, that's kinda weird. She was a new hire, so I never really met her before, but I assumed she recognized me or something, since there are some pictures of me and my partners hanging around the back. So maybe she was just nervous to meet the new boss. I was about to walk up to her and introduce myself when a customer came in looking like he needed help. I approached him and started talking to him, but before I could react, she stopped the conversation with the customer and helped him herself. After he left, she came up to me and said, "I'm sorry, but I'm going to ask you to leave. You don't work here, and you're making me very uncomfortable creeping around. Please get out of my store now." I thought, what the hell, and decided before I tell her who I was to see what she thinks is going on. I asked her what she meant, and she said, "I saw you when you come in. I am pretty sure you put something in your pocket." She went on to explain that she's the owner of this place and doesn't want any trouble. She just wants me to leave, so there won't be any issues. She was saying all this around the time my partner got off the phone and he overheard the end of it. I was holding back the biggest grin, and so was he, and then he approached us and he explained that I was one of the owners and her boss. Her face turned red and her whole attitude changed instantly. This all happened about 2.5 years ago, and we still joke about it. But now this 5'4" red-haired girl who was about to call the cops on me for just looking around my own store is now my wife. Our first kid, who is due in about 3 months, is gonna hear this story for the rest of his life. You all have inspired me to relate a story from way back, when I was a much younger man. Setting, the mid-1990s, mid-sized city in the east coast of the US. I was a college student who normally wore the traditional late teen, early 20s male uniform of worn jeans, band t-shirt covered by plaid flannel, and Chuck Taylor all-star high tops of varying colors. I was enjoying my sophomore year at my small college when I was tasked with an oral report in my current literature class. I knew the material, spoken often in class, and engaged well with the teacher and my classmates. Things are good. I decided that for the presentation, I would actually put an effort into my appearance. I shaved that morning, put on the few dress clothes that I had brought from home, and even wore a tie. I thought that I cleaned up pretty well. The presentation was well received, and I felt good about how everything went. So after class, I decided to walk myself across the street to partake of a rented movie from a local blockbuster video rental store. For those too young to remember, once upon a time you had to physically go to a store and choose a movie to watch, rent a VHS or DVD copy, and return it to the store when you were done. It was actually a really fun experience, and was even more fun when they started to rent video games as well. It also made you choose something you may not have chosen otherwise when your first choice was out. For further information on this topic, I recommend the film Be Kind, Rewind, starring Mos Def, Yasin Bey, Jack Black, and Danny Glover. As I pursued the store, I noticed that a couple of boxes were out of place, so I put them back in order as I decided what to watch that evening. An older woman turned to me and asked, "Excuse me, young man, but I'm taking care of my grandkids tonight and was wondering if this movie was appropriate." "Oh, Goonies? That's a classic. There are a couple of scary parts for the young kids, but it's nothing worse than what they would see in the cartoon. They should really like it." She thanked me and was on her way. Another woman asked where the romantic comedies were, so I directed her to them. A man asked me my opinion of John Carpenter's The Thing. Wow, I thought to myself. My professional appearance must exude cinematic knowledge and expertise. People can't stop themselves from asking my opinion on film. Maybe I should put more of an effort into dressing well. As I approached the counter with my selection, I was brought out of my contemplation by the sight of the blockbuster assistant manager behind the register. He was wearing a blue button-down shirt, tan trousers, a brown leather belt, and loafers, and a tie. I was wearing a blue button-down shirt, tan trousers, a brown leather belt, and loafers, and a tie. The realization hit me. Oh. Working as an intern, I got mistaken for a client and treated like a child. This is kind of a short story, but I think it's worth sharing, and it always cracks me up. My last semester of college, I did an internship as a part of my special education degree. The organization I was working for was what's called a sheltered workshop, essentially a place for companies to send products to be processed by people with intellectual and developmental disabilities like autism at a reduced wage. The employees or clients are monitored and supported by a large staff of barely trained, non-disabled employees. I have chronic pain and fatigue, which means that I need to use a mobility aids to get around. I alternated between a rolling walker and a manual wheelchair for most of my time there. I was the only non-client with a disability. I also wore a lanyard with my badge on it, which had my name and university name in big letters. Now, sometimes my lanyard would get turned around, so the front couldn't be seen. On many occasions, I would be doing work on my computer or a notebook while sitting in the common area, and one of the non-disabled employees would strike up a conversation either with me or with the group, including me. Without fail, they would always address me with the same tone and manner they addressed the client, while speaking perfectly normally to everyone else around. My personal favorite way of handling that was when they would pull the sugar sweet. "And who are you?" "Oh, hi, I'm Name." the intern from university. So nice to meet you. I'm really learning a lot from this experience. The look on their face as it dawns on them that I'm actually an articulate, college-educated person still makes me laugh to this day. It's like you could see the gears turn and the food get shoved in their mouth. Lesson to be learned: don't treat disabled people like children, and never assume people using the wheelchair is by default also intellectually disabled. I worked at the gas station that was owned by a grocery store chain. They are doing a remodel, and everyone who was working at the gas station were relocated to positions in the store. I lucked out and got a job in the cash office and didn't have to engage with the general public. My shift was from 4 a.m. to 12 p.m. It is important to note that the store also went through a remodel and nothing was in the same spot as it had been previous. The frozen foods were now at the back of the store instead of the front. The alcohol, soda, was at the front of the store instead of the back. There is still a main aisle that separated grocery from general merchandise, but now grocery had an aisle of its own. Essentially, instead of long horizontal aisles for each section, they split it in half. It was very jarring, and customers complained every day about it. One day after getting off, I decided to pick up a few snacks while still in uniform. Within 5 minutes, I was stopped by a customer asking where a product was. I told them, "Sorry, I don't usually walk inside the store, but I will try to help you find what you're looking for." They were content with this answer, and I went about using my detective skills to find what they're looking for. No sooner had I helped that customer than others stopped me asking where the Taco Bell taco kits were. I repeated, "Sorry, I don't usually walk inside the store, but I will try to help you find what you're looking for." I suggested they might be in the ethnic food aisle, and she said she had already looked. There are a couple of places it would be, and I didn't want her to follow me blindly, so I told her to hold tight, and I would find it and let her know. She thanked me and off I went. While searching for the taco kit, another customer stopped me and asked where the ketchup was. I told her, "Sorry, I don't usually walk inside the store, but I will try to help you find what you're looking for in just one moment. I'm actually helping someone else right now." She nods and thanks me. I had no fucking clue where the ketchup is. I happened to pass an employee that works grocery and ask them where the ketchup is. She points out. I thank her profusely, and wouldn't you know it? The ketchup is located on the opposite end of the same aisle as the taco kit. I go back and inform both customers where their items are, promptly rip my name tag off my chest and book it towards the exit, snacks be damned. I learned my lesson that day, and for the rest of the time I was working in the store, I went straight home after work. Black people live here and work here. Not sure about this one, but giving it a shot. I worked as a leasing agent for a garden-style apartment community for about 4 months. It wasn't a great property by any means. The apartments were fine, and the amenities were pretty outdated. The point is, we would get all sorts of different people to come in and look around. One day, this young couple comes in looking for an apartment. Very sweet, pleasant, and mannerly. We view a few one-bedrooms, amenities, and discuss leasing options. We are wrapping up the tour by the door that leads out of the office when the young woman asked one last question. "So, are there any, black people that live here?" Lots of things immediately started floating my brain, but in my position, there's only one correct answer. For those that don't know, leasing agents are bound by fair housing laws and cannot answer this question saying yes or no, as it would be racially discriminatory. I replied, anyone that fills out an application and passes our income and background check is allowed to lease here. She became frustrated and said, right, I get it. But do you allow black people to live here or not? As she was saying this, my assistant manager, who is African American and does live on the property, walked into the office by chance on her day off and overheard the young woman ask me if black people live here. Well, my manager just walked up, held out her hand and said, yes, they do. Hi, my name is Angela. The couple immediately stammered through damage control. You see, we just... Cue spur awkward moment, but the icing on the cake. As my manager walked away under her breath, the young woman asked me, your manager approves of this? I looked at her, then at my manager, then back at the woman, pointed at my manager and said, she's the manager. You can ask her yourself if she approves of herself living here. They left without saying another word. My manager and I laughed about it for weeks after. Rude lady caused her whole store to no longer get free tea. So for background, I work at the high-end mall, at the place with outrageously priced loose-leaf tea. I met the owner of business through my old basketball coach. She married an aspiring businessman who got rich because of his smart investments. Well, one of these investments was this tea shop. This will be important later. We sold a variety of best quality loose-leaf tea from around the world. Although it was mostly just retail, we also made drinks for about $5 to $8 depending on the sizes of the cup. Part of our marketing is by going to other stores and offering them free tea. Since we had a lot of leftovers from the samples we used that day, towards the end of the day we'd transfer them in cups and give them out for free to neighboring stores. This gave us more customers and the employees are usually very grateful. Well, except this one rude lady. We'll call her RL. She worked at one of the big stores. She strutted in one day and began to complain how her department never got the free tea. She rambled on and on about how they always get it every Tuesday. She doesn't understand why it's so hard for us to be consistent. The conversation went like this. I know you guys always bring us tea, but we didn't get it today. Yeah, those were just a courtesy from the owner. We give it away when we had too much for samples and don't want it to go to waste. I know, so why didn't you bring us teas today? I don't understand why that's so hard to do. It's just tea. Mom, these teas are actually about $12 per 2 ounce. They're not cheap, and we are not allowed to just give them out for free. Well, I know the owner. She always gives me free teas. I want to speak to the manager. You seem like you don't know anything. We pay for these teas at the end of the month, and I don't see why you're breaking that contract. She was grasping the straws at this point. Actually, I am the manager. I know everything that happens with this store. We do not sign those types of contracts where people get free tea. We give out free tea as a courtesy. It's not mandatory. And from now on, I think it's in our best interest to no longer give your store free tea. Realizes she ruined it for everyone. You can't do that. I know the owner. My old coach actually was in the back at this time, since her daughter usually goes to the classes events held at Microsoft. She slides the door open and walks out to look the rude lady in the eyes. Finally, a grown-up. Can you tell this kid to stop impersonating the manager and being so rude? Actually, that's my store manager. You don't know me, and I've never seen you in my whole life. I think it's best for you to leave. I later on had to relay what happened to my other coworkers, and they couldn't stop laughing. I guess me looking like a teenager doesn't make me look credible to be the manager. That was honestly one of the reasons why we stopped giving tea or for free. People get too demanding.